Hello Internet, I'm Daniel Bark from Barely Coding, and today we're taking on a challenge to build Flappy Bird in 25 lines of code. With lines of code I mean readable code, not like minimized crazy code. It should be readable and it should look nice and make sense. My starting point here is a body tag, a canvas tag and a script tag. The canvas has a size of 400 by 400 and there's a little bit of styling to center the canvas, to set the dark background and to make a border around the canvas. So let's get started. So the first line of code is to get the context from the canvas. And for the variables in this tutorial I won't use const or let, I will just declare variables. This is not the best practice, so please don't do this in the real world, but this is about coding small. So in this tutorial I will just declare variables like this without the varlet or const keyword. So because of the ID of C here of the canvas, we have that in the variable C already. So we can do c.getContext and it's a 2D context. So there we have our context, and the first thing we want to draw is of course our bird. So let's create a bird, and that will be a new image. And the next thing is to set the source of this image. And I have an image of the Flappy Bird at bird.png in the same folder as this HTML file. We want to draw this bird somewhere, so let's make variables for the coordinates of the bird. So we call that bird x, which will be 0. So the x coordinate starts from the left and goes from 0 to 400, and the y coordinate will be 0 in the top and increase as we go down the canvas. And bird y will be 200, so we place it in the center of the canvas in the height direction. We need to have a game loop that redraws the canvas, and for that we're going to use a set interval that takes a function. We want to redraw this at some interval, so let's use a variable for that. Interval is 24, so it will redraw like 40 times or something a second. In this canvas we want to set the fill style, to set the color that we want to draw in. So we'll do context dot fill style is equal to, we'll start with sky blue. So we will want to paint the whole canvas with sky blue first. So then we do context dot fill rectangle. We'll start at coordinate 0, 0, so top left, and then we will want to draw the whole canvas. So let's get a variable for the whole canvas size 400. So we draw canvas size and canvas size. So a big square that takes up the whole canvas. And there we see the canvas turned sky blue. So now for 24 times every 24 milliseconds we redraw this canvas with this. So now let's draw our bird. So we do context dot draw image, and the image is bird, and the coordinate is bird x, bird y, and then we need to set the size of this image. Now we want to reuse a variable for the bird size because we want it to be 24 pixels by 24 pixels. So then we can just add on here. This is not a good practice either, but since we want to save a few lines, we can do this. So both interval and bird size will be 24. So now we see the bird, but it's very big. So we need to set the bird size here. And now it will be smaller. Bird size. It's smaller now, but it looks a little bit squished. So we need to multiply the width with the aspect ratio of this image, and I happen to know that the size of this image is 524 by 374. So if I multiply it by that, you can see that the does not look squished anymore. Nice. So now we have the bird drawn at the correct position. So now let's add some gravity to this bird. So we need to change the bird y every frame. We need to have a variable for the bird speed in the y direction, so the vertical speed of the bird. So we can set that vertical speed of the bird. I will call it dy for delta y. We will set it to 0 when the game starts. In every frame we will do minus equals the bird dy to the bird y, meaning that we subtract the delta y from the bird y coordinate every frame. Bird dy. So now nothing should happen because bird dy is set to 0, but we need to have a gravity constant. And this variable will never change, so I won't declare it as a variable because then I have to create a new line for that. So I will just set gravity to 0.5, and now when I save, the bird should start falling. So if I save again, it falls again. So nice, now we have some gravity for our bird. Now let's enable the bird to fly. So we will do an on-click function on the canvas. So we have this arrow function. We will set the bird dy, which is, of course, again, it's the vertical speed of the bird. We set that to positive 9. That means that when we click, the speed will be upwards. See if I can save and then quickly click in the canvas. Yeah. Now every time I click, the bird starts to fly, flaps its wings and goes up for a little bit, and then gravity pulls it down again. So now, nice, we have a flying bird now. The next step is that we should restart the game if the bird hits the bottom of the screen. So then we can do bird y is greater than canvas size. And here we're going to do a little special thing to save a line. We don't want to make if blocks because then they will take up too many lines. So we say that if bird falls below screen, we do bird dy equals 0. And then we're going to make another thing, and then I can say comma and then make another expression here. Bird y equals 200. And I think we need to wrap these in a parenthesis as well. That's great. When we die, it restarts and it's still interactive. That's perfect. So now we did like an if statement here with two things executed if this condition in just one line. So it's not the most readable code, but at least it's few lines, and I think it's quite understandable at least. Bird died. Let's make some comments. Draw bird, gravity, draw sky. So now let's start to create a pipe. So to draw a pipe we want to use green. So we set context.fill style is green. Here we can set pipe x to be equal to 400 so that it starts at the right side of the screen. So a pipe is a rectangle and we can draw it with context.drawRect, which should start at the pipe x. Here we draw the top pipe. So y is 0. And then the pipe width, we'll use 24 for that as well. So I'll set the pipe width here. Pipe width. And then where the top pipe stops, that should come from a variable that is randomized every time. Let's use 200 for now, just to see that we get something drawn on the screen. Let's set pipe x to 200, because now we're drawing it off the screen. Oh, it's not draw rect, it's fill rect. So now we have a pipe there, but of course the pipe needs to move at every new frame. So we can set pipe x minus equals, we'll move it 8 pixels every screen. So there we saw the pipe started to move, and then we can set the pipe x starting position back to 400. And then we need to check if the pipe goes off screen. We want to create a new pipe. So to check if the pipe went off the screen, we can do pipe x is smaller than minus pipe width. That means that the whole pipe is off the screen, because if we don't use pipe width, if we use 0, as soon as it touches the left side of the canvas, it will redraw. So we want to wait for it to move completely off the screen. So if this is true, we will do a similar line to the bird died line down here. We will do some expressions here. We'll set pipe x to canvas size. Nice. So now we have a top pipe that starts over once it goes out of the screen to the left. So that's great. We need to have a variable to randomize where the pipe gap is, because for every set of pipes in Flappy Bird, the position of the gap is randomized. So we need a variable for that. We'll call it pipe gap bottom y. So it will mean the position of the top of the bottom pipe. But we'll get to that in a minute here. So if the pipe moves off screen, we want to randomize this new value. Pipe gap bottom y is equal to, we should have a variable for how big the pipe gap should be, the distance between the top pipe and the bottom pipe. We'll set that to 200. So pipe gap is 200. Then we can set math.random times. Now we can change how this top pipe is being drawn. So now we can see it a little bit in action here. Let's instead call it top pipe bottom y. Top pipe bottom y. Top pipe. Let's remove this border now. Nice, now it's flush against the canvas top. So now we should be able to draw the bottom pipe. Bottom pipe. So the x is the same, but where we start to draw, then we can use the top pipe bottom y, but we add the pipe gap, which is 200, and we draw it all the way to the bottom, so we should be able to use canvas size here. Nice. So now we have a working pipe gap that is randomized every time it goes past the screen. So now we need to check for collisions with the pipes, because now you can see the bird just goes through the pipes, doesn't die from the pipes. So if we want to save on our lines, we should add this conditional to this bird died conditional here, because now we're just checking if the bird falls off the screen. So let's first check if the bird y is within the pipe's y. So we match the bird with the pipe in the y direction. So the bird y should be higher than the top pipe bottom y. That means that the bird is up here in the pipe, or the bird y is greater than the top pipe bottom y minus or plus the pipe gap. So that means that the bird is like the distance to the bottom of the top pipe plus the gap. That means that it's down here. This is matching the y, and then it also needs to match the x of the pipe. So we'll do pipe x is smaller than bird size, and since it's the bird size in the x direction, we should multiply it by this width factor. So this means if the pipe has reached all the way to these small x numbers below the width of the bird, that means that the pipe is way back here. So here we have the check with the y. If that is true, the x also has to be true. So if both of these are true, that means that the bird actually died. So now we can probably do this. Bird hit pipe. So it's either that the bird hit the pipe or bird falls off screen. Yeah, the bird does die from the pipes, but we're not resetting the pipes when the bird dies. So that should be our next step. So then we need to make a few more things down here. We'll reset the pipe X to be the window size. It's not window size, it's canvas size. Nice, so now when the bird dies, the gap or the pipe resets. Very nice. So what else do we need to do? We need to start counting the score. Let's change the fill style to black to draw some text. Context.fillStyle equals black. And then we need, of course, a variable for the score. We'll set it to 0. And we'll also want to keep track of the best score, which should also start at 0. We can count an extra point at every frame. For every frame you stay alive, you gain an extra point. And we don't want to do that in a separate line, so I think we can do this. Context.fillText. We want to print the score, and we will increase the score every time we print it. We'll place it at 925. So now we have a little score counter up there. Now it's counting the score for every frame, and of course if I die, we need to set the score to 0. Score equals 0. So now every time I die, the score is reset. But we of course want to save the best score as well. So let's do like this. Best score is equal to best score is smaller than score. Then we set score to be the new best score. Otherwise we keep it as the best score. And then we need to draw the best score. Best score. Best score. And we need to move it a little bit. Set it at 50. So now we have a working best score. If the score reaches past the best, they are synced, and when I die, the best stays. So that's great to have a little high score. Nice. And that's all there is to it. We have officially made Flappy Bird. And now let's count how many lines did we use. Okay, let's see. We used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. But actually this one counts as one line, right? So I think, let's just say that we did it. We don't want to count the HTML tags. We just count the JavaScript lines. So I think, let's say that we actually did Flappy Bird in 25 lines of code. Hopefully you had fun coding along with this project. Game development is always fun. I will deploy this game somewhere so you can try it out, and I will link to the code in the description. Hope you learned something about JavaScript in this video, and thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye guys!